What up, familia? It's your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly, and I am back with another message. Um, and it's a continual theme. Yesterday I did this reading on the fly that I was led to, and the theme is just running through today. I am going to be very vulnerable and very open about the fact that I was just bawling my eyes out. There's this sense of, I kept hearing, I want to go home. I want to go home. And then, interestingly enough, I felt like, that scene in Dorothy where, she just uh, keeps saying, I just want to go home, right? To Auntie M and Uncle, whatever. And then now, this wasn't happening just a few minutes ago, but now I'm getting that whole scene from like The Wizard of Oz where, she's correlating like the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Lion to like the people in her life, right? Back in Kansas. And then now I'm hearing we're not in Kansas anymore. And now I'm getting the motif I'm hearing of like the new Wizard of Oz, right? Wicked and part one and part two. And, spoiler alert if you didn't watch it, but how, it was very interesting how, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, was developed in that movie series, Wicked, the ones that were just recently released. And there's something about now I'm hearing poppy seeds, and which was not a big thing in this in Wicked, right? But it was a big. Again, I'm hearing the word motif. Someone likes the word motif. Um, in the first one, right? And even if you delve into, I'm hearing the Wizard of Oz and its original, um, what it was speaking to, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, in its original state, it was really talking about maybe the Great Depression. Um, uh, and again, I'm hearing, I begin to cry uncontrollably about, I just want to go home. Yeah, so here it says is rich symbolism, most famously interpreted as a political and economic allegory for the United States in the late 1890s. Was a journalist and political activist with an interest in the money question of gold and silver standards, and the book's original illustrator was a political cartoonist lending credence to this theory. Dorothy Gale represents the average American citizen and her enduring honest values. The scarecrow symbolizing the American farmer, who's often dismissed as muddle headed or ignorant by the Eastern press. There's something about the East because they're bringing me back. The tears became really about ancient Egypt and the land of Egypt and a sense of longing and home to Egypt. So maybe who I'm referencing today in this message, maybe you've had a connection to Egypt, maybe you found some resonance with Egypt. There's something about past life downloads. The cards, they want me to like bring them back out, even though I'm shuffling, but to show them, because yesterday in the message, I just basically did a black screen and just was speaking and describing the cards. Um, but the Tin Woodman represents the dehumanized American industrial worker who lacked a heart due to the brutal working conditions and high unemployment of the era. He is found rusted in place, symbolizing the idle factories during the Depression. And the Cowardly Lion, widely believed to be a caricature of William Jennings Bryan, a prominent blustery politician and orator who championed the free silver movement but whose campaigns failed to achieve a national victory. The yellow brick road represents the gold standard, the rigid monetary system that populists argued was the cause of economic hardship for farmers and workers. The road is often uneven or broken in the book, highlighting its flaws. The silver shoes, Ruby in the film, in the original book, Dorothy's magical shoes were silver, symbolizing the populist desire for bimetallism, using both gold and silver as currency to expand the money supply and bring prosperity. Dorothy having the power to go home the whole time implies that the solution was always within the people's grasp. The Emerald City represents Washington, D.C., and the greenback paper money. The citizens are forced to wear green tinted glasses, an illusion masking that the city isn't as grand as it seems, much like the deceptive promise of prosperity from the capital at the time. The Wizard of Oz, a humbug con artist from Nebraska who represents the sequence of U.S. presidents during the Gilded Age, whose power was largely an illusion and who failed to solve the nation's problem. And the Wicked Witches on the east and west symbolize the powerful, oppressive financial and natural forces, Wall Street bankers, in harsh weather drought conditions that the common people struggled against. Other interpretations, a tale of self-realization. Each character believes they lack a vital quality, brain, heart, courage, but the journey reveals they possess these traits all along. Feminist themes. Dorothy is a strong, independent female character who solves her own problems and is the nucleus of the group, a rare depiction in children's literature at the time. And spiritual allegories. Some interpret the journey as a path to enlightenment and self-discovery, with total representing intuition that exposes illusions. The open-ended nature of the story allows for many rich interpretations, contributing to its enduring appeal across generations. Yeah, it's amazing. All of that just came out prior to me turning on this camera. It was mainly about ancient Egypt, and I was led down a road that I've been led down many times before regarding Hyksos. It was a nomadic people, wanderers, that by Josephus, a Jewish scholar, well, known as a Jewish scholar today, but or referenced as such today, but that is quoted as also believing these Hyksos people were like nomads, wanderers who lived amongst the Egyptians, really immersed themselves in the Egyptian culture. And some historians would say a lot of the Hebrew scriptures, or the Bible as we know it today, is a direct rendering of the ancient Egyptian tales, like of Osiris and even the Exodus event that is common in the Hebrew text, the Hebrew Bible. The people being led from out of Egypt, during the Pharaoh's time and things of that nature, also, correlates to Egyptian times when there was expulsion of these Hyksos. They were seen, according to some of the I wanted to say cuneiform or hieroglyphics. I think cuneiform comes before, or it's just another form. Okay, I don't want to confuse anybody. Look it up yourself. But that comes from that time period where it was found in writings, in ancient writings of Egypt, that they spoke of these Hyksos people who became problematic. They even took over, if I'm not mistaken, for about 100 years, but then they were expelled from Egypt, which that's what some correlate the great Exodus that is referenced in the Torah, is also referencing. Again, these are all theories. I'm not saying one is right, wrong, or whatever, but nevertheless, last night these are the cards that came out. Excuse me, it was this one. This Queen of Inspiration, and as you can see, her index finger is touching the tip of the pyramid. There seems to be rays of downloads coming in towards her forehead and towards the pyramid. And what was so intriguing about that is that I began to cry when I saw the temple of Karnak and the sun. So they're indicating in ancient Egypt that when one of the rituals or rites was to the sun god Ra, and when the sun would rise, so they actually built this temple, the temples of Karnak, so that you can see it. And literally, when I saw the picture, I burst out into tears. And this is the image. So these is the temples of Karnak, the temple, and then this is the way they built it so that when the sun would rise, you know, every dawn, the rays of the sun would literally illuminate the uh, the most dramatic and significant part of this ritual was the solar alignment itself, which was a precisely engineered architectural phenomenon. So they literally built those temples in Karnak to literally to the specific Eastern, and then it was something I mentioned the East yesterday. I mentioned the pyramids yesterday. Like all of this was in yesterday's message, but today it just seems to be more profound. They wanted me to go over it. They wanted me to go into depths, and I went down several rabbit holes. First of all, I feel like I'm all over the place. Spirit, please help me. I don't know if people are gonna understand me if I don't get it together. So it was like a tri-state. They wanted me to know about that there seems to be, because this card also came out. So there was something about the different levels, the cosmic realm, or like the sky, the earth realm, and then this watery realm, which in Egypt, right, and even in the Hebrew, which is interesting when we look at Genesis 1, it talks about chaos, right, and that the firmament came up and was split between the sky realm and the under realm, which were both waters. And that's a very Egyptian a belief that the waters knew are, you know, everything is surrounded by those watery chaos. And Ma'at is the order, right? And so even in the Bible, they're saying that, you know, this firmament, the earth, was developed. And then as you can see here goes the water, here goes like the cosmos, well, the darkness, the womb, then this water, then it was like this earth, and then it was Egypt. And it was showing me like this tri-state. I can't explain it. I don't know how they... But then even the cosmos, right? This is, you know, the universe, the cosmos, the sky, right? The constellations, the star realm, right? All of them. So the downloads begin, which then cause the moth and the split. Right, teamers, you see the cobwebs, right? This is her in the underground. But it's like the downloads are coming in through the, I don't know. I'm trying to explain it. I hear it in my mind. I see it in my spirit. Because it's simultaneously happening outside the realms, meaning the sky, the earth, and the underworld, but then it's all representative of you, of us being those three states as well, or embodying those three states as well. You know, another thing that it was a lot of a projection of that. In other mythologies, as I went down this rabbit hole, that, you know, and that's what it looks like, right? From her inside, there's this projection, and a lot of the imagery that kept coming out in the Muse Tarot, you know, some of the other cards that came out, was this sense of projection from within, right? So to speak of, as so within, as within, so without, as above, so below, right? Give me a second. With this one specific, all of these cards came out, right? That once again, that you're this energy field. You embody all of this, and it is your energetic field that then feeds the masses, or correlates, or energetically aligns. You vibrate a specific, we're always vibrating a specific energy, or, you know, source. You're the magician, right? All of this was coming out yesterday. And then this morning I was reminded of a woman who was speaking about mental health, and she made the point, and even this card, like, right, again, the watery chaos, the darkness, the womb, which is, it's not the same as the racial construct and all of we hear about blackness now and darkness now in a very negative light. No, it wasn't about expelling it. It was about because it's in this darkness that, you know, I mean, the firmament came out of it, right? There's a very a motif about life, death, and rebirth, right? The womb itself, right? A child, when it's carried, is all in darkness, this watery darkness. There's this sense of transformation that happens, right? People would go into caves back in the day, even predating ancient Egypt. If you go back, they went back, like, you know, back to the cave times. They saw, like, I guess that's where the cuneiform came in, like these pictographs or pictographs, I think they called them, where there was this emphasis about being in the cave, being in the darkness, this delirious state that it, you know, that we would call as delirious, but they would say it was transformative. It was necessary to you know, shamans and people alike um, to go into deeper states. But there seems to be this projection. Oh gosh, so the mental health aspect. So she's speaking about that a lot of this mental health diagnoses, like people pleasing, and that we're responding to the very systems that are creating this anxiety, this depression, this people pleasing, right? And these are just the symptoms of a people responding to the bigger system that has been created. Maybe that's their correlation back to the Wizard of Oz and talking about the Great Depression and the banking system, and, you know, the scarecrow being the farmers and the tin men becoming the factories, that we are now on like Prozacs and all these pills and all these things, and we're just responding to the systems. And interestingly enough, I was speaking to a woman yesterday at the dentist, and we kind of touched upon this. Is a response to the symptoms, but the symptoms are deeply rooted in a systematic framework that is creating the very symptoms that then we're needing to go to the psychiatrist and be treated for, whether it's through psychotropic medications or numbing through drugs and alcohol, psychedelics, or overeating or overindulging. Like, our systems, our very human organisms were never built to live like this. And as a result of living like this, then we're responding in kind, right? And now I'm thinking of like documentaries I've watched on food, and how it's the very food and our eating habits that's really causing like the cancers and all these other diseases. And even generational, epigenetics wise. And again, I begin to cry, like sob uncontrollably, and all I kept hearing is, I want to go home. I want to just go home. And maybe Dorothy, in the sense of going home, is like maybe back to a place where your nervous system is regulated, right? If you want to get away from all the ancient mythology and the woo-woo and the shamanism and all, if you don't believe in any of that, okay. But if we're just going back to neurologically, like how, you know, the human system is just created and designed, and just the general question is, where and how does the human system itself, us as a human being, right, this flesh and blood and all of these systems, I think we have 11 different systems within ourselves, you know, gastronal and endocrine and all these systems, for them to operate in their most viable forms, right, where they're like operating at their best, I'm hearing that the creme of la creme. It seems to be very opposite of the very systems that are in place now, that have us, like, I'm hearing like hamsters on a wheel, going round and round, and constantly in this perpetual place of just like this 10 of swords, right? Always in fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And again, the okie doke is that we're keep trying to, I'm hearing, treat the symptoms but they'll never end unless we actually treat or address the systems that are creating the symptoms in the first place in the people, right? If I'm people pleasing, is out of, again, all of these things like people pleasing, the anxiety, the fawning, the flight, are responses that the body takes because it goes into survival mode. It's protecting itself. It wants to survive, right? And there's something about the world awakening now, I'm hearing, understanding this clearer and clearer. One of the big things that came out yesterday was that this Temperance card is representing her look of astonishment is that during the winter solstice that's coming up on December, I think it's 21st, there's going to be like a real mass revelation, whether it's individually within people, maybe just, I mean, those of you who are listening to this video, maybe on a worldwide scale, there's going to be more of a revelation, right? There was this sense of, again, if we're talking about Osiris, if we're talking about these ancient mythologies that have always talked about that, this life, death, and rebirth that happens in this dark, watery realm that we have been, I mean, most of us can admit, and I heard an astrologer talking about how 2025 have been one of those years, right? And since 2020, since the pandemic, it has forced, whether you liked it or not, a lot of people to isolate, to go within. I'm hearing to face their own demons. And I'm not talking, again, you don't have to believe in demons and anything like that. It's something about the underworld, right? I mean, again, if you want to use these as the subconscious, right? Your shadow aspects, if we want to use the woo-woo language in Tarotland or in psychology that we use, using people like Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey and things of that nature, is this, because what was so important to them yesterday when I was doing the reading was, if you see here in the death card, they're coming out of this cocoon, this chrysalis that it's a butterfly, so it's like a cocoon. The butterfly, I mean, it's a moth. The butterfly and the moth are different. The butterfly was more about day and social, where the moth was more about mysterious, the underground, right? But they're coming out of that, and then here they're out. Right? And then there was significance with the lotus coming from the mud, again, the dark mud rising through the watery realm to come and reveal itself now in there was something about us being tri consciousness that way. I mean, that's the true trinity of sorts, right? Understanding that about ourselves as a living human organism, but then also about our reality, our world. And again, a sense of going home, right? But and I kept asking Spirit, but where's home? Like, I sound crazy. Are you saying home? I feel home is ancient Egypt. Are you talking about, for me specifically, my native land of Puerto Rico? You know what I'm saying? And I think it's so much deeper than a physical place. They're speaking of, and I'm hearing homeostasis, right? That's interesting. The word homeostasis, the first root word of it is, home and stasis. Home and stasis. What does stasis mean again? Excuse my ignorance for not knowing that definition. Remembering, I got it on the tip of my tongue. A period of state of inactivity or equilibrium, right? Yes, homeostasis, right? It's this, I want to go home. It's like the little girl in me, I kept hearing saying that, right? She was like the little Dorothy in me, and then my body became the land of Oz, and then I've been looking for the wizard, but the wizard behind the curtain was this illusory, as even as the internet called them, like this, hoodlum that wants to hoodwink, right? I don't know. It's whereas, when we read the other thing, that the whole time, the heart, the courage, the 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 mind or whatever, because the scarecrow wanted a brain, the lion wanted courage, and the Tin Man wanted, that was all within, right? And there's even a part in Dorothy where I think the quote unquote good witch said to her, you know, it was always within you to go home, right? You never needed to go really see a wizard anywhere, right? That's the okie doke, right? That's how they keep you looped around and stuck and effed up. And then there's something about, even with Wicked, again, if you don't want to hear anything about it, click off. But uh, confirmation where, right, they needed to make Elphaba, the green bad witch, she needed to be wicked so that Glinda at the end becomes the good witch, so that people would hear or know there's something about, because the wizard kept saying that even if you tell them the truth, they don't want to hear the truth. They want to be lied to. They want to believe in something else. So there's something about that. And I don't know, and then there was something about even reading the cards. When I originally pulled and they fell out in this order, meaning Temperance was first, then Death and Rebirth, and then Queen of Inspiration, which was like backwards to me. I'm like, wait, 14, 13, and then the Queen, which would be like the so Page, Knight, Queen, King, maybe 13 too, 11, 12, 13, I don't know. But it was almost, you know, like that. And then they said, no, I want you to read it like if you were reading Arabic or Hebrew, from right to left. And when I did that, that there's some type of protection that you're under. The sun god Ra would come up with clarity and illumination. There's some type of downloads that are being received, that you're receiving, possibly since the eyes are closed, in your night state, in your dream state. There is this, because it's all for this. This came out under this. You know, later on, it's an awakening of sorts, but it starts with the downloads that are happening, that then begins to clear the cobwebs and open up, right? And then we keep getting these two figures. So the yin, the yang, I don't know, I don't know. It's opening up, and then the moth comes out, and then there's this illumination that occurs where, you know, then you're fully, and not fully, right? Because that's what they showed me. You can only see part of her torso. You don't see her full body yet. But by the winter solstice, and then I looked that up in Egyptian mythology, and ancient Egyptian, what they believed about the winter solstice was it was the longest night. It's the longest night, right? And that to them was not problematic, but it what they believed was that shorter days meant weaker power for the sun god Ra, right? Longer days mean he illuminated more and was in the sky longer, so that gave more divine power, more creation, fertility, blah, you know, and so on and so forth. So on the longest night of the year, you know, that's where Ra would be, quote unquote, the weakest. And the fact that the next day after the solstice he would arise, it meant a victory over death, right? Over the chaos again of the new, the watery realm, right? And it was a powerful thing, right? And there were like temple rituals and ceremonies celebrating this. And then hence the 13, the death, right? We believe even in today's, you know, we have these, again, they're saying motifs. Can I look up motifs? Why is it so important to say motifs, Spirit? Motifs. A decorative design or pattern. A distinctive feature or dominant idea in an artistic or literary composition. Interesting. A short succession of notes producing. Interesting. And that's what this looked like to me. Notes. The people look like notes on, you know, if this was sheet music, and this was the sheet music notes with the, you know, I don't know what that's called, I apologize, the bars, right? And where you would write the musical So it's something about a short succession of notes producing a single impression, a brief melodic or rhythmic formula out of which longer passages are developed. So yeah, there's something about, yes, right? The longer passages of like the Hebrew Bible and all of these the Greek Odysseys and all these other longer, right? Because we're talking about, first they talked about cuneiform, then hieroglyphics or pictoglyphs, right? Which were like the little like would look like little childlike carvings in caves. Then cuneiform, which was like different types of like what may have been language. Then the hieroglyphics, and then it evolved into what we speak of as writing now, right? Like, I mean, if we're talking about 60,000 years before, and we had the first kind of like carvings and stuff, and then 6,000 years ago is where we have like quote unquote the rendering of the Hebrew Bible, right? But even before that, like 3500 BCE is where we have like the first forms of writing, right? So there, Spirit is making something about that. These longer writings are just motifs, are just smaller, are longer explanations. Maybe, Spirit, is that what you're saying? Understandings for us of smaller, yeah, of the original, right? Of the is something about going back to the origin, right? And there's definitely something about, because I kept hearing, the underworld, the earth, and then the sky, but they were saying no, is inverted, like inverted. And then I went to like where there was certain understandings where, some believe that in certain tribes, certain mythologies, that the earth or this realm is just a reflection, right, of other realms, and that the sky realm is really, I think they said in Australia, myth, or in other shaman, is really the real state, and this is the copy or something. There was something, and then that's when it led me to back to ancient Egypt, where they're saying no, in that kind of sense, is all water, right? And the earth in the middle is surrounded both above and below. And then I think Isis is arched over, holding up the sky and the waters above. And then I think I'm saying that correct. And then there's the underworld passage that the sun god Ra through the waters every day goes through. So there's this inverse, right? And then they just brought me to this card here when listen, I know I'm not shuffling and it's not coming out like where it is spontaneously, like that's what Spirit wanted because it was shuffled out. This is what they're telling me to do, and I'm just going to be obedient. It is a mirroring, yes. Everything is mirroring. We as people mirror one another. The world mirrors. Everything is a mirror. I'm hearing mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who is the fairest one of all, right? There's something about that saying too that's illusory, right? They're taking me back now to the Emerald City with the green glasses, and I instinctively thought of these sunglasses that I had bought, that when I would wear them, it did make, even the shabbiest of Philly landscape, looks so pretty and green. There's something about the rose-colored glasses. Where is the card, Spirit? Where? Oh, I gotta calm down. It's like really coming in fast. My heart is accelerating. But everything. Look at that mirror, 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 mirror. That's not the card that I'm talking about. But there is something. It's something about a projection. I'm hearing a mirroring, right? Everything is reflected back. Again, when there was mirror, mirror on who is the fairest of them all. This I did a deeper dive into that, and the Brothers Grimm really took some stories of some real sick-ish that was happening during those times, particularly between mothers and women, and two women, and these women taking these extreme they were killing their own daughters, poisoning them to remain in power, to not be discarded. again, so then that goes back to the motif of what they got me saying motif again about how you know, the Wizard of Oz, right? How it was the way of those, that author and that political cartoonist, you know, calling out. Uh, I'm hearing the fuck shit that the United States was doing, right? And to the average citizen, right? Um, and that's relevant now somehow too in terms of what's happening. And I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not a politician. I don't, you know, I didn't go to school for that. I'm not very well versed in that, but this is what they're bringing up. Again, it's something about, it's an okie doke. Now they're bringing up, like, very similar to the social construct of racism. That became a big thing too in my rabbit hole, where, you know, blackness has been distorted, where, you know, Kemet, which is the original name of, well, as far as I know, if there's further back, I don't know, but in terms of Egypt, Kemet, which meant the black fertile land, beautiful black rich soil, right, from where everything grow. And that's another thing, during the solstice, the it was right after, because the Nile River would come up, like flood the area, and then it would recess right before the solstice, so it made the land even more fertile. So even, this is the card I think I'm looking for. Goodness, it just took me forever. What's that card? Seven of Swords, right? The okie doke. Yeah, and that looks like if I'm going to the, you know, the wizard, the Oz land, right? And look at the foxes all around. Yes, there's something about, you know, and I'm hearing, do not be deceived. God is not mocked, right? And now I'm being shown this card again. There's these downloads. Something is going to happen. The world, look at this. Look at the world on her. It's changing. Something is going to be illuminated. Something. Now I'm hearing, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Yeah, the world is changing now. I mean, the world is very different now. The world is very different now. That's from a rap song, right? Yeah, fight the power. Fight the power. You got to fight the powers that be. Yeah. Said Elvis was a hero the most. Yes, Elvis was a hero the most. Yeah, there's something. It's a deception, dog. It's deceit. It's deceit. It's illusory. They want me to keep that card up. And look, I kept saying that. Like, she looked shocked. Like, oh my. You know, I even got the impression of Home Alone. He's like, oh, like it's going to hit people like a ton of bricks, or hit you like, oh my God. It was in my face the whole time, or I knew. And again, if it's not on such a cosmic realm, man, they just brought me to justice. They wanted me to look at this justice card. Again, the justice is that you're going to break out of this illusory state, right? People, I'm coming out. I want the world to know, gonna let it show. Yeah, there's something. Yeah. And again, I'm hearing it's both, Marilyn. It's both. It's both. Tell them that it's both. That is on a worldwide level, but then it's on a very intimate, right? So it's on a very worldwide level, but it's on a very individualistic level as well, right? Very personal, right? Very, very personal, I'm hearing. Look how the light just shone on that. Yes, they want you to know it's happening within. And because it's happening within, that's why it's going to eventually dominate and happen without. It has to, right? I mean, that's what happens, right? When you change core beliefs or get new information or get new perspectives, new synapses form in the brain, you know, new information, and like I'm saying, new core beliefs or whatever, then your actions will be different as well, right? We tend to act and make decisions based on what we understand, what we believe, what we perceive to be true. And if that's changing, then of course, then it's inevitable then that the surroundings around you are going to change, right? And again, you know, I don't know if in during my time, right, I'll see it on such a grand level, but they're saying don't worry about that, don't worry about that, don't worry about that. That's what I'm hearing. Don't worry about that, don't worry about that. You know, worry about your corner of the world, your 6 degrees of separation, right? Do your part, and you know, the ripple effect. I'm hearing, right? I just watched a movie like that, or I started watching a series. It's called The Ripple Effect. Yeah, and it was showing how an action that happened between one person brought all these. Yeah, it was very much like 6 degrees of separation, like those movies where you kind of encounter people or something happens that then changes those people, those individuals, that situation, you forever, forever, ever. I'm hearing, right? You're forever changed as a result. And the people you've encountered or, you know, get into this with are forever changed as well. Um, yeah, that's it. Is that it, Spirit? Uh, is that it? Is there anything else? If you hear that sizzling, it's me. I burn cinnamon and eucalyptus, and you know, during the reading it just helps, it clears. Yeah, it helps the grieving, helps calm me. You know, I need the rock, right? Something about the downloads are going to be so powerful. It's going to be important for you to ground, right? To ground. Yes, that's another thing that Spirit kept showing me. I'm going to show you in these cards. So one of the things that in yesterday's reading, again, I haven't posted it. I got it private on YouTube. I need to release it. Why am I talking like that? I don't know. Okay. Uh, the Chariot came out, and also this where is it, Spirit? There's something about, right, not again, right, it being right in your face and not being able to find it. It took a while, right? But this, the Ada's inspiration, you see how she look. I'm hearing locomotive, right? Like a fast shooting train. It was that one, and then there was this other one where she was floating in the air as well through and being like dragged, but not in a bad way. By horses, right? And I said something earlier about the horses, and this is another thing. All of the cards, each image seemed to be elevated somehow, floating, right? Even in the Ten of Voices, suspended in midair, right? There seems to be suspended in this universal realm. Everything seemed to be very um that was my smart Marilyn. Um, very again, suspended in midair, right? It's happening though, right? It's happening. It's like a floating. Oh God, what is it, Spirit? Um, Sorry, guys. I don't know. I'm so nervous now all of a sudden. I feel impatient. I feel like amped up. Like it gets me going. You know, like um, ball so hard. Yeah. Nobody knows what it is, but it's provocative. I don't know where that's. You know, that's what my throat wanted to like lock up just now on me. But there was this other card where again everything it's going to happen so fast. That's what I'm hearing, right? Or it's going to, here we go. This is the other card. And what card was that? The Chariot. So it was this card and this card. And they fell out under each other. That, you know, this was, again, it's going to happen so fast. Because what the Chariot, it was, look at all these horses. And I heard they were thoroughbreds. These ain't no regular horses. These are steeds, I'm hearing. Very strong, very muscular. And they're pulling her through. And then again, that's the picture that I kept getting. A projection, right? It's like a projector. Like your inner world is the projector of the outer world. And look, she's eyes closed. She's being pulled. And then here, after that being pulled, now she's ready. I keep hearing locomotive. You know, you get that vision of walking really fast, right? But I keep getting a locomotive train, right? And what's interesting is now I'm hearing the evolution of like us as a people, right? Where we went from horses and chariots, right? Possibly to then the railroads, right? And the locomotive. So again, this gaining of speed, momentum, and it started all the way. It wanted to start. Where did it go? Back with Egypt, right? Even though we know it doesn't, you know, we have. Well, no, it is. You know, no one can deny that it seems like the first civilizations or the first people were in Africa. Egypt is in Africa. So the downloads or the information, the cuneiform, the hieroglyphics, the origins, the real Genesis is from Egypt, right? From Africa, right? So, you know, and look how far we've evolved, right? We've gone to the locomotive, we've gone from horse and buggy, right? Again, what the Wizard of Oz was talking about when they had me read that, all that in the beginning, right? It started off as, you know, the Industrial Revolution and from farming and agriculture, right? And again, the foolish shall confound the wise. I'm hearing, you know, do not be deceived. God is not mocked, right? They're making a reference of how, remember they said one of they were mocking the farmers. That was one of the things that the book wanted to point out, how they were thinking that the farmers were like these dimwits, right? Yeah, right. The downloads and everything started here, right? Look, and there's something about this leopard. And the leopard, you know, in the when I noticed, I thought at first he was looking at her. He's not looking at her. I don't know if you can see. He's looking at he was looking at the moth card, the life, death, and rebirth, right? That was occurring in that death card. When I really looked at it, the whole time I'm thinking he was staring at her and what she was going through, or maybe protecting her somehow. But then I see his gaze is to the side. He's looking sideways. And when I had the cards lined up, this was the last one. The one right before it was the death card and then the temperance. So he was looking this way. The right way, I'm hearing, right? Again, we read from, it was telling me to read from right to left, whereas now today in our system we read from left to right. Again, the inversion, again the mirroring, again that 7 of 9. They flipped it on us. They look, even this, right? She's through these swords and it's this V, this under pyramid, right? They got it like this, but there's something under. They flipped it on us. It's a mirage. It's a yeah. Look, it's purposeful to make you not, to make you forget. And yesterday, and I'll finish with this because I gotta clock in to the 9 to 5, right? The lady that I was having a discussion with, we were oh God, and it left me that quickly. What happened, Spirit? Well, her and I were talking about that. How, yeah, and now my dog is going off. So there's something, maybe I need to stop it here. Yeah, it's 8:52. Maybe I need all of these minutes to log in. Once again, something about the man, right? Having to abide by the rules. And BK. Yo, come here. It's okay. It's okay, big boy. Okay, come here. Good boy. Come here. What you heard out there? See, there's something. Yeah, he started barking when I said that. Right? Up, up. Come here. Come here. Say hi to everybody so I can go. Come here. Come here. It's okay. He's stretchy. Let's say hi to everybody. Say hi. You want to say hi to the peoples? Say hi. Yeah. Say hi. I'm a good boy. It's okay. You can't be on the table, so. Thank you. All right, beloved. That's it. Maybe that's why the dog interrupted and that. Maybe I'm not supposed to speak about that just now. This is the message. I hope it resonated with somebody. I hope, you know, it made sense. I won't know until I play it back. But on that note, you know, yeah, I don't even know what else to say other than, you know, be safe. Look forward to good things, to awakenings, right? My nose is itching. My ancestors, I want to just give thanks to my ancestors, to spirit, right? To the spirit of remembrance, right? To remembering, right? To remembering who we are, to coming home to ourselves. Amen, Amen, and Ashe.